Howdy. There has been some floods again in Switzerland, obviously. And it looks like the people were a little bit surprised about the amount of water and all the things. I will put a link below to the article, you can check it out by yourself. That's a screenshot from the video we just watched, and I made a translation by Google Lens. As Meteo News writes on Twitter, the Kufelbach has also burst its banks in Weisstannental, on the other side of the Pitzol. The road was also washed over by masses of water which carried tons of debris. The thunderstorms tonight were not that harmless, like a video from Weisstannental in the St. Gallen Oberland proves. The Kufelbach burst its banks in the village of Weistannen and found a new way via the road. So this means we have to check out Weistannen on Google Earth. I just found it. I had a quick look at the situation. Here is the river called Seetz, and here's the river Kufelbach, which was just featured in the video. So obviously we are in a rather mountainous environment. And in a way I would say it is a white river. Since it appears to be white in color. And let's just follow this river up the valley. Which is a rather steep valley. Wasserfall Arena Boatöni. Waterfall. There is at least 2 waterfalls. And a bridge, and there is a waterfall on top of it. And they built the bridge and all this kind of stuff in order to make it possible for people to watch the waterfalls. So I somehow would think that they are in a way active all year around. Which means they aren't probably so dependent on melt water after all. Or in this case, what today happened with this flood, rainwater. There are like many boulders here, as you can see, and some of them, they might be really big. The size of houses, hike to waterfalls. So they are very well known, those waterfalls. That's also a neat one. And it's not exactly clear. Does it just pour out of the mountain, or is there a crack where it is flowing through and then drops down to the valley? So let's continue. Here's the waterfall, or here are the waterfalls. I assume that's one. This might be the other one. And if we go here on top, there is some houses. But there is also this very interesting feature up here. Dark spots and dark veins. This kind of wetland, so to say. And I was searching if there would be any picture about this particular spot here, because this looks really interesting, but there isn't. But these things, when I look at them, I cannot help myself but to think that there might be water pouring out of the ground constantaneously within its own fluctuations. Furthermore, the wide river seems to continue even above the waterfall. It's very grainy, the picture, I know it doesn't really help. And then it's dividing. And since this is mountainous region and we cannot really zoom too close in, it is a little bit hard to determine where it really starts. Because it seems there isn't any plateau on top of it on which snow and ice would accumulate and then melt. Since it's just like, it's a really, it ends at a really steep mountain. And maybe the White River continues here on the other side of the mountain as well. Now here's one. Check it out. And this also rather starts at the top of a mountain. But we are on the wrong side of the mountain now. Let's go back. If we can make it. Mountainwater. There's another river. When I think, if we see these kind of features, like on the hillside somewhere, some of them might have been done by cows or something, because they are creating their own paths. But they might be also indication of the ground moving in a way, bulging up. Because of something rising from beneath. Uh-huh. Yeah, this doesn't really help. But maybe that's a crack where the water's originating from. It pours out of the ground and flows downhill. As we would expect of water doing that. But for example, this feature here which looks like a bulge. This might be some indication that we are talking about some kind of cryptodome type of mountain, which would be really interesting. We have white rivers and all this kind of stuff, flash floods. This might be another bulge here. But that's all just speculation. But I think we shouldn't, how to put it, just put it aside as being completely crazy. Because as we have seen in the video, there is quite an amount of stuff coming down all of a sudden, all at once. And obviously it has been very much. Those houses which got destroyed, or the streets or whatever, they have been there for tens of years. And now all of a sudden they got just destroyed by, according to officials, thunderstorms. And they were talking about the many lightning strikes, but they didn't mention rainfall amount, how much it was raining. But they mentioned the lightning strikes, which I find really interesting. How much was it raining? I don't know. But maybe it wasn't raining enough in order to provide Weißtannen with this kind of flash flood. Maybe the water originated somewhere else. Hence it came up from the ground and rolled downhill through the village of Weißtannen. And I don't know exactly where it was. Maybe here. But I won't make research into that. I just wanted to show you that there is a possibility that we just witnessed another white river in action in the Swiss Alps, which might be the eruption of a cryptodome or a cryptogeysir, since they are not really well understood. But I just try to make people aware of these kind of danger potentials in the Alps or whatever mountainous region on Earth, that water is something which really can come out of the mountain in massive amounts in very short time. And if it's really so that there's like CO2 emissions in form of degassing mechanisms from certain kind of, how to put it, seismic activities, then we might have to watch Windy in a different way. Which means not only SO2 would be interesting, also CO2. Since people, since ancient times, they started their settlements at places with at least water. And mostly, or very often, it was special water. And so on. Which also means that the cities or whatever settlements were growing, the things underneath they stayed there. And if you watch Windy nowadays, there is like CO2 emissions. And they might not originate only from human activity, hence cars and industrial facilities and these kind of things. They might come just out of the ground because there is something under the ground, which is degassing by CO2 and not SO2. But let's see, hopefully this other guy responds to me tomorrow and I will be wiser. Professor Dr. Dahl, or yeah, I think this was the name of it. The man. I put a link below in the last video. There is his email address, so you can ask him by yourself if you're interested too. I asked, and I got the first answer, and now I wait for the second answer. Yeah, I'm a nature enthusiast and I'm really curious. Just try to make sense of the things I see, which everybody can see. I think it stays rather interesting, the whole situation. Anyway, I'm tired. I should sleep. And thanks. Bye.